Hello, everybody. This is Jay Haynes with the Film Sensei YouTube channel. We're delighted that you're here, and we appreciate everybody who is here. If you have a comment, or if you're in the chat, feel free to drop a comment there, and I'll give you a little shout out. And we're basically going to be here to talk about the impact that HitFilm has had in our lives and in the world in general. So without further ado, I want to start bringing in my guest panel. I've got a great panel of guests, and I'm going to start by bringing in the one and only Mike Miller. How are you doing, Mike?
Good. I was here last week, so let's move on to the exciting guests.
Mike is going to be my co-host for the day. He helped me put this whole thing together, and I want you to know how much I really appreciate it. I would also like to bring back one of our guests that was here last week, and that is Phil Wesson.
Hey, everybody.
Good to have you, sir.
I'm back here to talk more about HitFilm and how it's made such a huge impact on our lives. And thank you again for having me.
It is a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here. And now I would like to bring in Tony C.
Hey, everyone. Tony, I've been doing some stuff for FXHome since 2012. Nice to see you all.
Yep, Tony C with NX Visual Studios.
That's all right.
Great to have you, sir. Really appreciate you being here today.
No, that's good.
And also another person who has done some extensive work with HitFilm, and that is Justin Barrett with Clever Tagline. Justin, how are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. It's going to be a good time.
Awesome. And we're going to bring in a few familiar faces here, starting with the one and only Simon Jones with the old FX Home Tutorials channel. How are you,
The man,
sir?
the myth, the legend, the one who taught the rest of us.
Yes.
OG of the OGs. How are you?
I'm good. I don't even need to introduce myself if everyone else does it.
We'll let you do that here in just a second. Let's bring in the face of HitFilm, and that is Javert Valbar. It's great to have you, sir.
Hey, Jay. Thanks for having me.
It is a pleasure. I'm delighted that you're here. Also, a member of the team, face of HitFilm, Tom Cowles. It's great to have you. You're muted.
Hello, you lovely bunch of coconuts.
It's delightful to have you. Tom now works with Action VFX.
That's right. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
All right. And I have one more guest here that I would like to introduce, and that is the one, the only, the founder of FX Home, Josh Davies. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. This is amazing. Good to see a lot of friendly, lovely faces.
It is a pleasure. So without further ado, because we have a hard stop of 90 minutes that we absolutely have to hit. So without further ado, we would like for each of you to kind of go around and tell us a little bit about how you first came about HitFilm and, your HitFilm origin story, as it were. So who do we want to start with, Mike?
I'll go with me. I did the origin last week, so I'll just say that after the origin, I was lucky enough to go on. Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Kirsty. Oh, Kirsty would have liked to be here today. She couldn't. We were supposed to have Cedric, who is one of the HitFilm devs. He couldn't be here today because he's sick. So you get me instead. Let me think. And then I went on, besides my origin, I got sick. I discovered HitFilm. It was a sale, yay. And then I was lucky enough to go on to do some guest tutorials for the HitFilm YouTube channel. I got to be an FX Home brand ambassador. I got to be an FX Home forum moderator. And I did 6 months of QA for FX Home during COVID, which was fun. And that's me.
Sorry, Javert. I'm covering your face with all the comments, man.
At least they say Javert over it, so we know who it is.
Yeah, it's Javert under there.
Monsters Inc. Isn't it? Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike. Introduce the next person.
Oh, let's just go, left, right, top to bottom, next to Phil. Up to Phil.
Hey, all right, sure. I'll go real quick. If you were here last week, you heard a little bit about me. I used to be in marketing. Well, I'm still in marketing, but I used to be in marketing and I kind of needed something else for myself. Got into film, was trying to learn visual effects, found FX Home, was really inspired, did a lot of work as far as support, and, just tried to stay connected to the community as well. And I will go to, we haven't heard from Simon in a while. So how about that? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Right.
Where are you from?
This is complicated because like my story goes way back. How long have we got? Okay, so short version is I met Josh when I was at university. I think 2001. I think. Shout if the dates are wrong, Josh, but let's go with that. I mean, it was decades ago. Basically.
Like I remember that far back, but it
When
was
we were
early
young.
2000s. Yeah.
And I played a vampire in a trailer for a Land DV2, which was the second part from
Nice.
what was then known as CSB Digital, which subsequently became FX Home. So that was my way back origin story. And then after that, I continued doing some stuff with Josh and the guys. And then when I finished university, went and actually joined the company and was there for like 14 years, I think, up until about 2016. And had loads of fun along the way. Did tutorials, did all the like technical writing for the manuals, loads of testing, loads of annoying devs by breaking stuff and saying, why doesn't this do this? I want to do this thing with a spaceship over and over again. So yeah, that was me.
Fantastic. I love it. All right, Justin, you're up, sir.
All righty. I started out as an animator originally in the animation industry, 3D character animation primarily. After I quit that, at some point, I was looking for a video editor of some kind, and my budget was $0, so I had to go for free. And of all the options that are out there, HitFilm jumped out at me as like the all-in-one kind of package to do that stuff. So I downloaded it, started playing around, and then I had always in the back of my mind had this interest in motion graphics as well. So that's kind of where my work in HitFilm kind of spun towards, was the more the motion graphics side of things. Just playing around. I just love experimenting with different concepts. And so at some point I decided, okay, I'm going to start the YouTube channel thing, sharing tutorials and various things, and just have fun experimenting with all kinds of fun visuals. And I was able to spin that into some projects for work on a couple occasions. Yeah, that's kind of the rundown.
Awesome. Fantastic. Tony?
Well, pretty much it started off in 3ds Max, and well, even though I was using After Effects, I had this issue where they moved over the licenses and then something funky happened. Couldn't use the software anymore. Not only that, but it was frustrating. But yeah, 3ds Max, I needed the video to just like everyone else. So I went to I think it was like Vegas or something like that. And then I saw HitFilm 2 Ultimate pop up in the sidebar as an advertisement. I think if I'm right, am I right in saying that? It was in another software that it was being advertised. And then I literally just thought, okay, I'll give this a try. And it literally was probably the best choice I had ever made, because it literally was it was the artist's blank canvas, basically. It literally had everything you needed, exactly where it needed to be. If you could think it, you could do it in HitFilm, and that was what made it great. So, Farrah.
Like Josh's, I just own the company. I don't know what we were doing.
We were pretty good at marketing.
Josh,
so
man, I
I
owe a lot to you, bro. Honestly.
But
I
did a lot
literally
with Vegas, so yeah, it probably was something to do with Vegas. But
it was.
I don't know.
It probably was, because that's how I got in as well. Because it was right when you started cross-marketing with Vegas. It was the Vegas upgrade to the HitFilm bundle.
That's it. We literally, mine and your stories is pretty similar. I think also, I think we both joined like the ambassadors. It wasn't called that then, was it? It was like just before they started naming it that. We joined to do the testing and development stuff. I think it's about 2012, 2013. But yeah, we've seen the software grow, and it's just been amazing.
For sure.
It's been good to be a part of it. Really brilliant.
It has been. It has been.
Yeah.
All right, Javert, you're up, sir.
Yeah, so a bridge version. I was 15 in 2011 when HitFilm came out, so that's when I discovered it. Really enjoyed using it, just had fun learning and creating stuff. So I had my own personal YouTube channel for several years as I went to university and high school first. Eventually ended up asking FX Home and Josh and Kirsty specifically for an internship, and they said yes. So I did that in 2017 for 2 months. After that was finished, I graduated from university, flew over to Norwich full-time as FX Home's VFX artist. And I did that for 4.5 years. So I use the software from 15 to now. I'm 28 now, so it's been several years now, and it was a big part of my sort of creative journey.
Nice.
Fantastic. That's awesome. All right, Tom, you're up, sir.
All right,
Tom's
all
the new
right.
kid on the block.
Well, it goes way back to I was exposed through Film Riot. Heads Up was the trailer and I was like,
Yeah.
oh wow, this is great. I needed a compositor and started playing around with HitFilm, but later down the line, I was working in Norwich, which is where FX Home was based, and I couldn't believe my luck that a place like this was like on the doorstep. So I sent in an email, which was titled "Lost and Requesting Coffee," and luckily that fell in the lap of Kirsty, who, she sent me a reply that was like, "Oh, we're very busy at the moment" and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, "Okay, that's okay." A month later, she was like, "I'm free now. Do you wanna have that coffee?" And we chatted for a while about like, because I wanted to know what was like, VFX and marketing and all this stuff. And then I went away thinking, oh, that was a lovely chat I had. I'll just continue. I went and got a master's degree. And then as I completed that, she sent me another message being like, "Hey, we've got a position open. Do you want to join us as a content producer?" And I was like, absolutely. Moved back. And then, I got to be involved in these wonderful tutorials. I got to work with Javert and making amazing stuff constantly. And, hosting the competitions, things like that, getting out there and trying to echo a load of cool stuff. Pretty amazing.
That's fantastic. I love it. All right. And last but not least, Josh, what's your HitFilm origin story?
Wow. Yeah. So all the way back, which must have been when I left university about the year 2000, I decided to try and create a company because I made a piece of software for my brother. My brother was trying to make The Matrix and Star Wars while doing university at the same university that Simon went to as well. I guess a couple of years behind my stepbrother maybe. And I made this piece of software. My stepbrother used it. It made filmmaking quicker. And he therefore could play PlayStation with me more. And I thought, if he's using this, surely the world over, there are countless thousands who are going to tear my arm off for this piece of software. So I thought I need to put this on the web. I don't know much about web stuff. So my best friend at university, a guy called Toby, he said, "I'll come and do the website stuff." And we put it online. We sold 6 copies in the first week. And then we didn't get to 12 copies for about another 7 or 8 months.
Pretty clear they'd only just invented the internet, though.
To be fair, it was $49, so you can see that we were operating on a fairly troubled budget. So, and then it was just actually a case of, even from that small amount of people that came in, I think you can say they share a lot of the traits of the people that you have in this room right now, that they were really creative, they tinkered, they like to fiddle around, and they really actually built the tiniest of communities in like the first age of what we were doing, which was the only reason we kept on going, because we didn't make any money. We didn't know what we were doing. It was a real pain. And it's always been the community that kept us going at every other stage as well. So even, probably coming towards the tail end of the first year when Simon joined us, he came into a company that was sketchy, just as sketchy, like it was hard to pay any kind of real salary. Luckily, we were all young and maybe we didn't worry so much about that kind of thing. But it was a real learning process, learning with your friends, learning with your community as to what it meant to try and build something like this. And we were really lucky. We had really good support. It was really lucky. And then HitFilm came much later when we realized that we wanted to take things much more seriously. I guess we always wanted to take things seriously, but we started learning about maybe what our community wanted in terms of filmmaking, rather than, just that we were making lightsabers. And we really put everything into trying to have a formalized process for a bunch of people who didn't know how to do it. Build a formalized process of how we build this software, talk to people, work out what they want, and we really bet the farm on it. We put everything as a small company into it. We made loads of bad decisions, but again, it was a community of good people that kept us going through that. We launched it on the back of a financial crisis that was going on in the world, and the money that had been promised to market it and that launch it didn't materialize in the month that we were meant to be launching it. So really the story of FX Home and what was before that CSP Digital, and before that the snappily titled Joshua Davies Limited, there has been a story of community and support from community, and echoing the community with the team that we had internally. You know, every person here representing FX Home, I just worked with the best people. I had just really nice people that cared about similar things to me. So yeah, it's been a long period of time, but I've had the best job in the world the entire time I've been doing it.
Yeah, for sure. And that helps a lot when you're working with good people, you know?
Yeah, yeah, for sure it does.
Can I just point out how cool it is that, you know, just as we're all kind of going through our origin stories, and then obviously seeing in the chat, so many people came from so many different places, you know, like just I needed this, I needed this, and then I loved it. I was doing motion graphics and I loved this, and I needed a compositor and I loved this, and just bringing in so many kind of different, you know, facets of the creative process, and then everybody finding a home and in HitFilm, and then doing great stuff with it is always really impresses me.
For sure. My you know, I started using HitFilm because I had a very specific need, and I went out and Googled that need and found a tutorial by Rody Paulus that filled that need, and I said okay, and I just went and bought the software outright. It was HitFilm 2 Ultimate, and I didn't even know there was an express version. I didn't care. I needed to fill this need. So I was like, this is it. And then after that, I learned how to use it, you know. So it was I had the cart before the horse, you know, but it was the need that drove that. And that's what I've found in the community is everybody who shows up, it's because it fulfills the promise that they deliver, you know, that they're saying they're going to deliver, and it makes it creates opportunities for people that you wouldn't have ever had otherwise. So with that, I'll let you guys talk about HitFilm and what you think it's done here.
I'm glad you brought up the free version, because this was Simon and I used to discuss this at length, like, because the desire was that there would be we had made the software and we're like, wouldn't it be great if we could get it to more people? And the whole Simon was like, yeah, wouldn't it be great if there could be a free version of this software? But the issue was like, free version of the software, how do we pay salaries? And rather than, this is one of maybe the immaturity of the company aspects, is that we designed and tried the free version of the software before we realized that we should have been working out how we might monetize it just a little bit. So we launched a free version and we put it out there, and our servers were nearly destroyed by the uptake of people. Like we were used to, you know, 1,000 downloads a month or something. And I think we had like 250,000 downloads within a week. And we had to literally switch the thing off because it was killing what we were doing. So we had like this trial period when a surprising amount of people came in when we had the free software. And then once we had proven this, we're like, so how the hell do we do this without actually bankrupting the company? Because the server costs became the problem for the download. You know, that was the problem. It was costing us loads of money to have a free version of the software. But they were interesting times for sure. Yeah. But it was awesome.
That's the other thing. Like, this was quite early on, like relatively speaking. So when the company started, that was before YouTube, which I think is always really important to remind everybody. And like digital video had only just become a thing in like few years beforehand. And then like a lot of the things we were doing, including stuff like doing a free version, like nowadays there's like models for how to do that kind of stuff, and like loads of companies do it in various ways. When we were doing it, we're kind of like, what's this? This sounds like a cooler thing. How do we do this? What's going on? And there were like no other examples of how to do some of this stuff. So yeah, it was always a bit of a like just give it a go and see what happens, and then figure it out later on.
Yep.
We
made it.
We tried to work it out though. We tried to work it out.
You made it too good as well. I have to say that it was actually jam-packed with still a lot of features for being free. It was just like there was nothing on the market, I feel, that could have beaten it. It was just really good.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Karen.
That was definitely like a discussion that was had at the time. Was like,
Yeah.
I think again, Simon and I would be like, "Oh yeah, you definitely need that. Yeah, you definitely need that as well. You got to have that as well." And
Can't take that out.
But nearly put everything into it from the main software. But then it comes from I don't know if Simon would still call it this, but it comes from that we were frustrated filmmakers, and like we were trying to make the product that we hoped other people would have wanted, because it's the product that we would have wanted a couple of years prior. So yeah, probably you are too much the customer. So you're like, let's just do the whole thing free. Not necessarily a wise business decision, but yeah.
Josh, you're skipping out a little bit. You're breaking up there. So it may have completely stopped.
Hopefully
now
make
you're
it back.
frozen.
Oh,
Hopefully
he's
back.
You're still. Yeah, you're still. But anyway,
one thing.
Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think HitFilm kind of hit at a good time, because it hit right around when the GPUs were getting powerful enough to do the sorts of things that HitFilm wanted to do to begin with. The initial decision to leverage OpenGL was such a smart hack to turn a video game rendering system into a video editor, which is, I think, probably what made it work. And HitFilm, it was never the best at anything that it did, but nothing else did everything HitFilm did in a functional manner. So it really was the closest thing to a true Swiss Army knife of video.
Yeah. And actually, where you get software that is the best for what it does, there's actually fairly few people who need it at that level. Like, it's like, unless you're like ILM or something, like most people don't actually need to be operating at that kind of level. So the idea was always to look at, that kind of independent, young, starting out amateur filmmaker who's taking it seriously and wants to like vastly upgrade what they were doing, and trying to figure out like what is the feature set that is most useful for these people, because there's stuff that you'd find in like higher end software that was cool, but like no one would ever use it. It wasn't relevant to the type of filmmaker we were going after.
Yeah, and how many people cut their teeth on that? Yeah. How many people cut their teeth on HitFilm and then went on to do amazing things?
Zach Allen last week, right?
Allen, and many others. I mean, also just from a I don't want to say PR standpoint, but from more of a community standpoint, the fact that it was free and the fact that the quality was what it was when it was released did really show people that there are alternatives out. Like we had After Effects and many other things like that said, hey, look, to get in you gotta pay, or you have to find it by other means. But people came in and said, oh, I feel better buying packs for effects and things like that, like with HitFilm Express, because the quality is there, because I know that this company is trying to give these tools to people. And there's I'm a big gamer, and there's a company that makes a game that's completely free. It's been free for over 10 years, and they're doing super well because people love the company and they love what they're doing. They love the community, and they're saying this is worth the money, versus, all right, well, I have to buy this because I have to use this specific tool, and that's it. And there's almost a pay to play model. And I think that having FX Home take the route of going free, it opened up so much for people. And like I said last week, it helped them learn that there's ways that you can do these things that seemed unachievable before, and really built that loyalty with, the community and everybody. And the facts that, we saw Simon and Javert and Josh and all these people that I felt like I knew before I ever spoke to any of them. I was like, oh yeah, of course. I'll, whatever Simon's selling, I'll take it. He's proven it before, and it was great.
Yeah, and the FX Home YouTube channel is a fantastic source, but then you had HitFilm University, and you had Tony C out there and Justin Barrett, doing their tutorials too, and Javert with Inkscape Digital, right? Everybody was doing their tutorials. It was like, man, there's such a wealth of knowledge. What a community that's happening here. But
that HitFilm University guy talks too much.
Oh man,
Oh.
yeah. I just would put his on 2x speed, so that you could. If he didn't put it on 2x speed himself, right? For his tutorials.
Already neared it, yeah.
That was only once, and it was only a 10% speed
I heard it.
And
Fucking
that was the Sandman Dissolve tutorial. That thing was cut within an inch of its life. I couldn't convince Kirsty. At that point, the channel had a hard cap of 15 minutes, and I couldn't convince Kirsty. I need one more minute.
Yeah, I tried as well. It was like it just had to. Yeah, I know.
That was my fault. I should have dropped all the doing the matte stuff to make the effect procedural so that it could be drag and drop, and I should do what Jay did a couple months later and just do it with a mask.
But that's how we learn, though.
Yeah, that is how we learn. That's how we learn. But his solution was just to speed it up so that it fit within the frame, which is awesome. That's fantastic.
I seriously trimmed that thing doing there's no gaps. There's no breathing. It just. I tried watching it again myself. I'm like, what was I doing?
I think the cool step change was when we went from like LMDV and then up to the lab products, which were sort of this stepping stone that then led to actually HitFilm. But with each, like LMDV, that software, like you'd still have incredibly creative people doing cool things, but like from our point of view, we wouldn't necessarily be surprised at what they were accomplishing with the software because the nature of it was very specific in what it did. And then with the lab product, yeah, and it crashed, and and this was like back when editing or doing video effects on a home computer was just a nightmare, regardless. But by the time we got to HitFilm, that's when we really got into that kind of toolkit mode where we had no idea what people could do with it. So we were doing some cool stuff. We were like, oh look, this is a cool feature, and then like Mike or someone would come along and do something completely weird with it that we hadn't even thought of. And we were like, we'd be watching stuff going, how have they done this? And I think that's when you've created a really cool creative tool where the users and like you guys doing your own tutorials and we're watching it and going, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that was the fun part for me.
I was just going to say, there was this point where we had nearly got to HitFilm coming out and we realized we'd made a better product than we thought we were actually aiming to make. That we were like, oh, hang on, it's actually good. It does more stuff. And then we kind of changed in our heads what we were then going to actually try and achieve with it. Because at first we were actually trying to make something more like the previous software that we had made, just a bit better. But the development team that we had, along with Simon and the team that were thinking about what the product should be, the development team was so good. They made a massively more powerful product than we intended. Especially it was like version 1.5, I think, when a lot of additional stuff got added in and we were suddenly like, ooh, this is really, really good.
Yeah, I was just saying earlier, the fun part for me was like pushing those edges and like, how far can I take this thing? Like, I think, I forget if it was somebody from FX Home. I think it might've been like, how do you do the whole Marauders map footprint thing? And getting that concept in my head, like, okay, where do I start? How can I take this? What pieces can I use? How do I, get from here to here to here? And I just love playing with the program because there are so many things you don't realize that combining these things over here gets you this result. Like, whoa, that's kind of cool. And now I can take that and do this. And
you did it in Express because, I would have gone right to the particle simulator because that would have been simple. Particle simulator, sprite.
Yeah, and that's where I started was particles. I'm like, okay, how do I back off from the particle thing and just start from the ground up? And I love just pushing it and seeing how far can I take this free thing and do cool stuff with it.
Yeah. But
of course, for a while
further.
And that was often the challenge that someone like Javert would get from us, where we would actually be asking him to make a tutorial that was possible in Express, and he could have gone, well, here's how I do it in Pro, like a title or something, a title sequence, and it would be, I would use these three things and it'd be done. But we would be like, no, Express users need to be able to do this as well. And he doesn't have to rethink the whole thing.
Yeah, it was an extra layer of challenge, because creating a tutorial itself is already difficult to try and condense 2-3 weeks of work into 5-10 minutes, but then to add on like, oh no, you have to you strip out some of the core effects that I would have used in Pro. Coming up with something for Express specifically was like, okay, how do I leverage these free things in a more creative way to let more people access this effect?
I mean, there's such value in that, just by virtue of saying, like, even though you're using Express, and this is something that we all kind of knew, you know, on the FX Home side, they were always still extremely valuable members. You know, it was never like oh, we just really want to cater to the Pro users. You know, here's something for Express. It's like, no, we need to make sure that this was feasible for the Express users as well. Which I think really resonated with those users, you know, when they would call in to support. They're like, oh, I just have HitFilm Express. And we're like, no, that's okay. We're still going to help you. We're still valuable. We still want this to work out. And many of those users would say, well, tell me about Pro. I you know, what else can I do? So it was a huge help.
Yeah, for sure. And I just want to ask you guys who were involved in making the tutorials at the FX Home channel, how fun was that? I mean, how did you guys, what was the process to go from, hey, I have this idea, or even how did you come up with that idea, to then going through the process of creating that effect and then presenting it? Because you guys look like you were having a blast the whole time you're doing it.
It was. I'd like to hear from Tom as well, because he was the producer and he's the one that put the projects together later on. But it's the majority of it, especially in the earlier years when I first joined, was just like, we think this would be cool. Let's do it. Okay, that was kind of it in terms of the decision making. So someone in a comment said earlier, oh, you know, a movie would come out and we'd base it off of that, and that was a pretty major decision driver for what we wanted to do for tutorials. Our YouTube schedule would have listed out the movies and TV shows coming out in the next couple of months. So we would be constantly referring to that, be like, okay, we make sure we don't miss the Avengers in June. We have to do something based around that.
And it would be trailers as well, wouldn't it? So like as soon as the trailer came out, we'd be like, right, that effect, the film's not out for another 4 months or whatever, but we have to have that effect with a tutorial ready for the release of the actual film.
Yeah, trailers were usually when we had to pivot and make some like quick decisions. Like, you don't really know when trailers are going to drop. So something would come out or be released on YouTube and we'd be like, oh shoot, we didn't expect that. Let's pivot this week. Can we put something together in a couple days? So yeah, for the most part, at least the years that I was there, it was just like, hey, this effect looks cool. I can replicate it. Let's do a tutorial on it. But Tom would know more as well, since he produced as the producer. He sort of put the projects together and was like, how can we film this? How can we package it into a final product?
That was a wonderful way of summing up what I did. Thank you. Yeah, like when I joined, that process was already in motion. So looking at the calendar for film releases and being able to like target stuff. And then when I joined, it was like trying to squeeze it down so we could do the weeklies. We could do, I think by the end we started going into bi-weekly, fortnightly, so we could then kind of optimize what we were putting out. So rather than like trying to chase our tail week by week, we were trying to then go, okay, well, let's make sure that we're getting maximum effort into it. We were paying attention to the comments that were coming through, requests, because we started getting like a actual work process going on of like, oh yeah, this is working. We can work in tandem. Javed did like a heavy VFX tutorial, and while he's doing that, I can spit something out for like editing and focusing on like how we can do, you know, J cuts and etc. And then like it's already been mentioned, like we're tailoring content for like, you know, Express users or Pro users, or subscription based towards the end. So we can kind of like week by week, it was growing this just content pool that we could pull from and go, yeah, cool, okay, this is happening, or something has happened now that we can pivot and start creating. Like the deep fakes was one that I remember trying to spit that out in a week with Josh. I don't think it was even a full week. I think it might have been like a couple of days.
It was real fast. You were real stressed, Tom.
I was that was probably the most stressful one. Or, you know, we had there were so many points where
something would just come out and we're like, yeah, let's do that. That'd be fun. Because like you said, it was an absolute blast to go down into the suite, get the green screen lit up, and like, you know, dress Ollie up in Shang-Chi costume and just be like, yeah, pretend to eat popcorn, mate. Yeah, it'd be fine. Yeah, be funny.
We did have to,
I always thought the procedure for selecting a tutorial is what can we do with Ollie that will be either funny or kill him again.
Yeah.
We did also have to keep in mind, eventually we had to make a list of things we had to sort of force ourselves to remember, because when you get wrapped up in making tutorials week by week, suddenly it's like, oh my God, we haven't done a pro effect in like 2 months. Some stuff like that, where it's like, okay, we have to remember to sell the software. It is a company and we have to do that. We have to remember to make an express tutorial. We have to remember to cover basics or beginner tutorials, or if we went several weeks creating more advanced tutorials, we have to remember to come back. So we ended up having a list on the YouTube schedule of like things to keep in mind, not necessarily do every single week or month, but like, don't forget these things exist and we should have to cover them at some point.
One aspect that was always interesting is that, like, way back at the start in particular, like HitFilm 1 and when we went to HitFilm 2, for every major release at least, like we were developing shots to put in trailers and for tutorials for launch, but we were having to do all of that with like beta software that was not finished. So we were simultaneously creating all the assets, which was basically also finding bugs. Like it was the best way to find bugs was to try and do ridiculously ambitious shots. But at the same time, we did have to actually finish the shots to use them in the trailers and to then make tutorials. And that was really hard because that was all back to front and chicken and egg. But there's kind of no other way to do it. Like you couldn't build in like a 6-month lead time because you had to actually get the software out and sell it. So there was like no sort of really sensible way of doing it. But yeah, it was often like right in the crucible, like really hard trying to get things to happen that couldn't actually happen yet.
So it's almost like you were building the plane as it was flying and taking off.
Yeah.
And the fact that you did that and it still worked out, it still, you know, got to where it did is
it was pretty sketchy. I mean, I think I was never more thankful than when Javert and Tom really took over doing anything to do with making cool effects in the software. Because not only did they do a better job than I ever did, but there were times when I think, you know, Simon knows full well that there would be that one shot that just really was a nightmare and something that we were trying to do. And I wouldn't go home that night. They'd come in the next morning and I was still in the office just trying to make that Stormtrooper one where we've done, I've forgotten which one of the Star Wars things we did, but there's this shot where it looks over and there's just like a whole army of Stormtroopers.
Oh, was that the one in Blender?
Can you? No, it was done in HitFilm.
No, it's Rebellion. It's the particle sim when they come up and they look down into the gantry and that's it.
But that was like the last one of those ones, which I just remember that there was just like there was 24 hours spent on one shot just for it being bug after issue, glitchy shadow, whatever it was, and it was just like that was a nightmare. But as Simon said, it was an incredibly good time to find issues. But then what happened instead is like whenever we did something big, and once Javert and Tom took over, I got to be the person that stood there and saying, "You got 5 minutes on this shot, get on with it." And I was just like this really brutal person that wasn't doing anything other than shouting times at people. "You got 10 minutes for this shot, get on with it."
I'm assuming we can share this now because like we're out you know, Apple was a big thing where we were you know, I was thinking about this the other day when because we were like a covert operation, right? Josh brought us in, me and Javert into the office and was like, right, we got this project, you need to sign NDAs and all this stuff. And then we couldn't tell anyone else what we were working on for a good,
in the office.
I think
we couldn't tell other people in the office what we were working on.
We couldn't tell anyone about it. Apart from like sneaking off with all the film equipment, going, "Where you guys going?" Can't tell you.
Oh, is this for the for that keynote where
for the keynote?
So
iPad keynote.
Right.
Most people probably don't know what this was.
Oh yeah.
No.
Depending on what you followed it with the FX Home stuff, but it was we were in an Apple keynote where they showcased CamTrack AR for a couple seconds. It wasn't like a big huge demo or anything, but they said like you can use the iPad for CamTrack AR, and then there was an example clip on the big screen behind the presenter. We had to put together the shot and a couple shots. It was meant to be like
It was a trailer.
Yeah, but they didn't show the whole
But
thing.
they used one clip.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but they filmed me for 3/4 of an hour and took about maybe 0.4 of a second. Oh yeah, that was probably, other than financial difficulties over a 20-year period, that working, and not because of anything Apple did in particular, but like just because of the scale of what they do and their expectations and their legal, that was the most terrifying thing that we ever did. There was this one point where a person was going to call me from Apple. She was really senior in their sort of developer relations. In fact, I think she was the most senior in their developer relations. I had 2 people call me before the call to tell me that the call was about to be incoming. So they called me and they're like, "You'll get a call in 10 minutes." And I was like, cool, this is fine. And then there's a call and I'm thinking it's her. And I pick up the phone and they're like, "The call will be incoming in 4.5 minutes." And I was like, "What on earth?" And then she calls me and she says, "You know what, Josh? There's a hummingbird right outside my window." And I was like, "Well, that's wonderful. I took a photograph of a robin sitting on my door handle earlier today." And she said, "Did you take that with your iPhone?" And I was like, "I did." She was like, "Send that over to me." And that was it. That was the phone call. I did send her the picture of the robin. She never replied. So
Thanks for the call. That was great.
yeah.
Probably should have
Nice.
color graded
Terrifying
that
times.
picture first. That's
Yeah. It was a great picture. I took it using my watch to take it so I could leave the camera rested and not scared the robin. But yeah, that was my with the high and mighties. But the weird thing about Apple, I will say, is everyone you talk to was like, they were really, really decently focused around what they were doing. And it wasn't like, we've worked with a few big companies over the years where you always get the disgruntled employee at one point during your chain who's like, "Oh, I don't know why I work here. I've been here forever and I just don't want to be here anymore." But everyone in Apple was like super, super nice. They really knew what they were talking about. And until we had to deal with legal people to sign off some stuff, they were really the company that I hoped they would be. And the only other company I'd say that was been really great, it used to be Sony and now it's like Vegas Creative Software. The people over in Madison, Wisconsin, that we dealt with there, loved every moment dealing with them. Really nice guys. They had a growth journey where they were a small software company, then they were bought by Sony, and then Sony, does a Sony thing and, separates big divisions into different things. So they weren't a Sony company again, but we've went and visited them loads of times, and their developers were really, really great. And they were just the nicest, most genuine people. And it's always lovely when you get to work with like awesome people, and they really love their product and really love their users of their product as well.
That's awesome. It definitely kind of, you can see a camaraderie in those kind of companies that are like, "Hey, look, we're doing this for, the users." Yeah, there's plenty of people that say like, "Hey, bottom line. And obviously that's always a consideration, but those that are, really have that passion, it's fantastic to see.
They always looked at us like little brothers.
Yeah,
they always used to sort of look at us like little brothers who hadn't, taken the big plunge into being bought by Sony. I'm not sure there's a more terrifying company to be bought by than Sony, but they were always like, "You guys, we remember what it was like when you used to make what you want to make all the time," and all of that kind of thing. So yeah, they were nice guys.
Dafter Things had a question I thought was really important. I'd like to kind of ask that to the group, but mainly to Josh and Simon, being, kind of the originators. There you go. What was the effect that, went into HitFilm and you're like, "Wow, we've done it." But then also not just the effects, but what are some of the things that you saw both internally and externally that you were not expecting from users or from the capability of the software, where you're like, "We know where this started out and oh my God, look at what's happening now."
I mean, the two things for me were the particle simulator, which straight out the gate was like way better than it needed to be. And then I think more than that, even for me, it was the 3D model stuff, because like I had
That
a
was
lot
my
of experience. Yeah, I had a lot of experience and had built up some like knowledge and skill at 2D compositing, and like I was a very experienced editor and all this kind of stuff. But 3D modeling was just completely outside of my like skill set, and it's one of those things where the leap to get to being good at it is quite large, right? Like you have to be like, well, I'm going to do this for a long time. And like Javert, I know that's exactly what you did. But like I was never going to study to become a 3D modeler and animator. So when those features appeared in HitFilm, I was like, oh, hang on, I can do all those cool sci-fi shots that I've always wanted to do within the HitFilm software. That was which is why, like, when you're asking about how we came up with tutorials, basically my approach to like what tutorials you do is I was like, I'll do a spaceship one. And then I talk to Josh and he'd be like, can you do stuff that isn't spaceships? And I was like, so yeah.
Lynn Kress has said that we should talk about what we're doing now, but it's also 5:45. So since we've talked about what the software could do and how it built, we should go into the reels, and then we can wrap up with what we're doing now.
I think that's a great idea. Thank you for that transition, Mike. I appreciate it.
No subtlety at all. No smooth segue. Just, we should do this.
Real quick, shout out to Rhodey. Welcome. It's good to see you.
The legend, the man, the myth, the legend.
Hey, boss.
Wow.
Rhodey, I read your statement last week, man. And that was class.
Yeah, and Rhodey's the reason that we're all here, because my HitFilm journey started with him. So, in a tutorial that he made. So, thanks, Rhodey, for that.
He's been an amazing friend to us for a very long time.
Cheers.
Yeah. All right. Shall we start with Justin? Can I start with yours? All right.
Sure. So, quick preface on this. This is a broad mix of like some rough and dirty tests in a few cases, all the way up to stuff that I produced for a sadly short-lived job I had back in Las Vegas for a minor league soccer team, and everything in between, tutorial bits and just fun stuff all along the way.
All right. And here we go. Maybe. Oh, you know what? For some reason. Oh, here we go. Yay!
Nice. You know what's fantastic about these reels is that there's always one where I'm like, how did they do that? To this day, I'm like, how did they do that? So
with Justin, there's more than that.
I'm like, how did he do that?
Yeah, not just one.
Yeah,
there's a half a dozen. How did he do that?
Justin, you got to put this reel up on your YouTube channel, man, so I can just like download it and stare at it and try and figure it out.
Good. That's so good.
We'll do that.
With
Thank
that
you.
band footage, our footage from our thing, you just did a better job with it than whatever.
I thought that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not
Justin,
that we did a
our
better
lawyers
job,
will be
it's that we did
reaching
something
out.
different, because in seriousness, what Simon did with that in that reel with
Yeah, with the effects, particle
flickers
effects.
and the interactive and
Yeah.
the particle effects, that's
Yeah,
one of
that
the things that
was-
told me on the software. So
Yeah.
Justin just did a different style of effect.
Did you hand animate that H?
Yeah, well, that was
Yeah.
that was a puppet effect. That was like
Good Lord.
the puppet tool came out, and I'm like, dude, I got to play around some character, something on this thing, and the whole galloping H is the first concept I had for it. So
Wow. Well done. Well done.
Yeah,
Thanks.
well done for sure. Well done for sure. All right, should we move on to everything I know I learned from?
Oh, is this my one? I have a quick intro to this. So this,
Yes.
I don't have a reel because I've been out of the filmmaking stuff for ages. So this video is
good.
actually something that Mike edited for me when I left the company as a kind of like thanks goodbye thing, which made me teary-eyed. But just as a quick caveat, because Mike didn't fully know who had done which shots in the company, there are some cool shots in here from Joshua Davies. So it's a little bit of a dual reel for both of us.
It's not like I could ask
Guess
you who
which
shots were
ones?
whose when I'm trying to surprise you.
All right, and thanks to Justin for preparing this for me. Also appreciate it, man. All right, here we go.
Hi, I'm Simon. Today we're talking about how this week I'm going to show you. This week I'm going to give you. Today is all about. This video is all about HitFilm. 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 In fact, it's so powerful you could say that it has unlimited power.
Hasn't aged today.
Man. So cute.
something else. Maybe something slightly more abstract. Maybe an apple. You've taken your first steps into a larger world. But HitFilm can be used to make anything you want. So that's about it for this week. Okay, so thanks for watching. Many thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.
God.
Can I just say real quick that if that came up as a YouTube ad, I would buy the software today.
Oh yeah.
Like no lie, I would absolutely watch.
What I love is just how like the whole visual scenery just got so much more realistic at the end with all of the how big the production started to get. It's just I love that.
Which
Yeah,
is
it's
funny
like-
because right at the end, right near the end, that it goes all the way back to HitFilm 2 for the shot of the car.
Yeah.
I'm biased, but I think that reel is amazingly well edited.
Gee, I wonder who did that.
I
don't know.
I got some PTSD from watching that, to be honest. But there's one particular shot that I think me and Simon worked on in tandem, and just about every developer touched. That one where the ship, like the Prometheus ship, comes in and lands.
Yeah,
that caused so many problems in the software, and so many. We were back and forth again and again and again and again on that one.
Still looks pretty good, that shot though.
Oh, I'm still trying to get.
I wouldn't make it again. I wouldn't ever.
I mean, we got to a point when we finished the shot, it wouldn't render. Like it looked cool in the software, but you couldn't render it out. I was like,
oh no.
We had to find the most powerful computer in the entire office to have enough video memory to be able to render the thing out. Yeah, good times.
It's an amazing shot.
Yeah, it's fantastic, fantastic. All right, Tony.
Can you run my reel next before Tony, Javert, and Tom make me look like an amateur? I mean,
sure.
Simon and
Mike
Justin already have.
All right, Mike. All right, here we go. Mike, you want to preface this with anything?
Like Justin's reel is, it's a combination of finished and unfinished test shots and real project shots, and it's stuff. Fewer explosions than last week, but still some, and lots of spaceships, Simon.
All right, let's go. This is Mike's reel. Here we go.
We're going to look at making this Sandman-inspired dissolve effect in HitFilm Pro.
Thanks, Mike.
Got in pen.
Nicely
Oh.
done.
Yay.
Nice.
Thanks, guys. The that thing that came up as the sports defense, I kind of got in trouble with that one because when I did the tutorial, it was supposed to be everybody at FX Home. It wasn't supposed to be sports defense. It was supposed to be tutorial presenters. But I never got the photos from FX Home, and Kirsty went on vacation for 2 weeks during my deadline, and I pivoted the entire tutorial to sports defense without being able to check in with anybody at the office. And I remember you guys were kind of, why did you do that? I'm like, because Kirsty was on vacation for 2 weeks and you never gave me the photos.
Outrageous.
I think that's probably when they decided to hire another full-time guy and open up a position for Tom, so that kind of communications error wouldn't happen again. I think I got you a job, Tom.
All right. Fabulous. Now we can move on to Tony.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, thanks. No, I'm just going to point out that I know I have some friends watching this stream and they have to see what the stuff from 2012. So I'm a bit, oh no, please. But yeah, it goes on like in a timeline of bad to worse, but it does show some really, truly really good features that HitFilm could do, and I think also I was going to include some stuff in there to do with Simon as well, because he collabed with me a little while back. He does, I don't know if you remember it, but you did the voiceover for the World World stuff.
Yes.
Yes.
I remember that.
That's still a thing, and it's still happening, Simon.
Nice.
But also, I'm just going to point out that if it wasn't for Simon, the slit scan stuff in HitFilm, it wouldn't exist today. You remember the girls in the particle simulator, and you had like dancing girls? I was able to work it out from just that alone. So, yeah, carry on.
All right, let's do it. Here we go. Wow.
Holy crap.
You see why I said Tony and Javert and Tom going to make me look like an amateur? Ah.
Tony, that gear shot, I can't imagine how like your computer didn't burst into flames.
Do you know what the interesting thing was? And that really was HitFilm 3 Pro, I think, that I started that in. And the fact that it was only a 4 GB graphics card, VRAM that I had back in the day, the overhead on, the way it just worked was just insane compared to Adobe's software. Literally, if I did that in Adobe's After Effects, it would have crashed. No bias or anything, but that's just what happened. So
Wow,
that was one of the reasons as well for changing over.
And another thing, just watching these, I'm like,
black hole thing was one of my favorite things ever made in the
yeah.
software. 100% one of my favorite things ever made.
I'd not seen that before. That was amazing.
honestly,
Yeah.
like I
You
watched
hadn't
that.
seen the Interstellar black? Oh,
Yeah.
that got used in the promo
It's-
materials
Yeah.
for
It's
years.
really brilliant.
This has inspired me to literally like, well, what else am I doing today? Can I try to figure out some of how some of these were made? Wow.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, just gorgeous work.
Amazing.
Thank you very much.
Spectacular. Spectacular. All right. Let's see. Am I down to Javert? Is that it? Is that
Javert
the
and
last
Tom.
one?
Yeah.
Or
Javert
Tom,
and
do you
Tom.
have one?
Yeah. I believe I uploaded that.
Okay.
Please, because
I'm sure
Javert's
they'll
is going to
find
be
it.
sentimental and nostalgic.
I
And
don't.
mine's
Let's not
silly.
cry, guys. Let's
All
not
right.
cry.
Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just remove a couple of these. All right. Nope, not gonna do it that way. All right. Maybe I'm not gonna remove them. All right. Here we go. Because I don't want to kick you guys out at the same time as I'm removing you. Right. That's bad. All right. I have Javert sunset reel. Is that right for you, Javert?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Tom, I'm not sure I have yours.
Let me
Bum, bum, bum.
grab it.
Put it back on there for me if you don't mind. So
I will
there it
do that
is.
now.
Now I see it. Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Okay. So setup. My job was to make things happen. This is actually my current reel in general, but obviously a lot of it is FX Home because all the cool stuff is from there. And it's just, it's basically everything that we got to create and do. So there's loads of fun stuff in there. I hope you enjoy.
Nice.
All right. Here we go.
Just imagine a trip to a wonderful land of candy and jam and ice cream.
I have no audio.
Can you hear it? I can.
Yeah,
I can hear it.
Gotta hit that screen, you better watch it. With a cat that attack it with a full clip. I got the whip, got the pitch, that I keep it undercover. All up in the cup, just to live it up. See the stone cold face, try to knock it. I keep it tight, never walk on the rocket. I got a beat in it, I got a grip in it. I got a beat, got a beat, got a beat,
Holy chromatic aberration!
Woo!
Good Lord.
Rock,
Well done
good
with
to
his
go.
acting wheel.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Awesome.
That was fun.
That
It's
was
short,
a
but it
blast.
packs a punch.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
That's good.
Good
That's
stuff.
awesome.
That'll get
One-
you hired.
Good memories. Good memories.
One of the best shots that I'm always proud to put in there is the one that I had to convince Javert would work, which was the face reveal. I remember we were debating that for a very long time of whether that was going to work.
Yeah, because I was like, Tom, I don't know how to do that. If you want to film it, you're gonna have to do it.
Yeah.
You know now.
I was like, yeah, all right, yeah, challenge accepted.
The other one actually in Rise of the Dark Side, Calvin Serrano gets his head chopped off by the lightsaber, and that was another one where I was like, Tom, I don't know how to do this. You're gonna have to do it, and he did. So
Wow.
Not so much
Wait,
the head
wait,
chop
wait.
off, but the backstab where the lightsaber comes
that
through
was
on
me.
that.
That was me.
But the first time I saw that shot, I was sitting in a pub in Southampton with my wife, and I was watching the thing as it just come up, and it was just like I just went go, and everybody in the pub turns and stares at me, and they're like, "What?" And I'm calling these random pub goers over, "Come here, you got to see this," and just these random, and they're like, "Oh, that was quite nice." Yes,
I just gotta say, we gotta record this date. Javert just said he didn't know how to do something.
What?
The amount of times I usually have to twist his arm into stuff, but like he would be like, "Nah, I'm not gonna do that."
I'm not afraid to say I don't know how to do stuff. If I let these guys down in the office, that's the worst. So I would say like I'll have to look up how to do this, or I don't know how to, and then they would pitch in and work around it. So it was a good team.
Well, I mean, it's a learning process. It's a learning process. My reel has stuff that I have learned from everybody else in this stream.
Yeah, who here has had to gone back to your own tutorial to do something?
Like yesterday. Literally yesterday, I had to do that.
It's like, man, I know I used to know how to do this. I think I made a tutorial about it.
Yeah, some of the pieces I put on my reel, I'm like, wait a minute, how exactly did I do that? I have no idea now.
That's why you make tutorials, man.
Yeah.
Some of the tutorials I made just so that when I forgot how I did it, I'd be able to go back.
I knew, yeah, that's what I do too. All right, Javert, are you ready?
Yeah, so this reel is mostly chronological, and it is it's my stuff. So there's not any work in progress shots or unfinished stuff. It's all things that I published. The various stages that it goes across. The first couple of 15-20 seconds is me when I was 12 or 13, just learning about visual effects. So it was pre-HitFilm, but it was in Sony Vegas. Then I discover HitFilm. You can see that sort of evolution. I had my personal channel. It's stuff from that. And then, of course, FX Home comes later on. There's nothing after that. There's no there's not a big focus on Unreal. It's all just like HitFilm stuff. So yeah.
Great. All right, here we go.
That is fantastic.
I love that.
Nice, man.
That's great.
Can I just say that Javert, you're like perfect to be here because you're like the ultimate representative of what this whole thing is all about, and like it's applied to so many other people. And I'm really pleased that you're here as a like actual example. But like if you look at like Sam and Nico, who went on to do Corridor Digital, you got AJ, who's been a cinematographer for years, Matt Plummer, Hybrid Halo, he's working at Frame Store, Pookie's at Ubisoft doing cool stuff. Chris Cowan's like this ridiculously major action director now. Rhodey's gone and done his stuff, and that's just like off the top of my head. Like there's millions of examples of this going way back to like the 2000s, and I think like for me that's the big legacy of this whole thing, which is that you know, whether it was directly because of like what me and Josh and the guys were doing, or just as a sort of point in time where people needed a space to like nurture this stuff when they were 12 years old, and then went on and have gone on to do such interesting different things and cool creative careers everywhere. Like that's the thing that makes it all proper worthwhile.
That's why we did it, wasn't it, Simon? It was like, you know, like very quickly we weren't interested in like if they were going to use the software, particularly in Hollywood or something, because occasionally we got asked about doing it for TV or for film. Very quickly, we cared mostly about young people, to be honest. I know there's a few older people here like myself, but we cared about young people that were trying to tell a story, but were frustrated that they weren't being able to tell it the way that they wanted to, which included visual effects, and it included pizzazz and the things that excited them about cinema. And, you know, I know Simon and I loved the journey where a new person would come to the forum and their first video, and I'm not being rude, would generally be poor. And you'd be like, cool, they tried, but that is bad. And the second video, you'd be like, really? This is a week and a half later? This is quite good. And then the most frustrating thing was when the third or the fourth video was better than we could do. And we were like, how had someone progressed this amount
that's
of
when
time?
you hire Zach.
Yeah. This is the thing. You
Especially.
just like watch someone in a no time at all become, you know, they've clearly found something that they care about and that they love. And then they often, as Simon said, they go on to put that same passion into maybe something slightly different, be it music, be it cinematography, be it another creative endeavor, but like being part of that bit where they crystallize that creativity is really important to them and going to be a part of their life, be it writing like Simon does now, whatever. It's like, it was really engaging and amazing. And the reason that we did it every day was that we were witnessing people find their voice and find their creativity. And it was amazing. And that's why we loved it.
And with my complete inability to do a smooth segue, this would be a good, we got 10 minutes, that hard stop. This would be a good time. Josh led us into that of the what are you doing now that Lynn wanted to know about.
We'll give you each 1 minute to talk about, you know, say your final words and tell us what you're doing now. Michael, start with you.
I don't need a minute. Hi, left California, moved to Ireland, you know, doing not enough contract work on the side. Wife's trying to buy a pub restaurant accommodation up on the west coast of Ireland, and I'll retire off into the west and diminish.
Feel like Gandalf.
I will say my reel, but I will jump into one thing. My reel that I showed did not have my favorite VFX shot of all time, because it's the one thing that I put up on the forum when the forum was hosting things, and it got pulled for being inappropriate content because sex and death. And I did a short film, had candles, forgot to light them in some scenes, had to go back and relight the candles in scenes with lens flares and mask everything out. And the woman in question has a very fantastic bottom, and I spent a very pleasurable evening rotoscoping it to put in the highlights from the candles on the wall behind her, but that was not appropriate for today.
I think Mike would have gone last.
All right, Phil gets to go next.
Yeah, so like I said before, I'm over here on the East Coast of the United States near Boston. I've been doing a lot of contract work just, you know, for tech companies and things like that. But I have been working on getting other kind of certifications and doing more cinematography and trying to get better at lighting to, you know, match up to some of these guys here. Yeah, I'm going to be more active on the forums and fixing up my website and just looking for cool new opportunities. So hit me up
on the Discord channel. You mentioned
on the Discord. I'm sorry, did I say the forum? The Discord channel, which we should put another link up.
Tony C's Discord channel for the HitFilm users.
I am on
so
it.
Good.
I'll find it.
All right, Simon.
Yeah. So I'm mostly writing these days. So it was just before I left FX Home, actually, I started really getting into writing. Like film and writing was always the two things I liked. I did film for a while, and then writing's become my thing. So I've been writing online serials for about 10 years now. The current stuff is on my Substack newsletter, which obviously everybody has to have these days. I'll stick the link in chat.
Please.
But yeah, do come along. It's all like free to read. There's lots of articles there on how to write your own serialized. I'm still doing tutorials basically. So there's stuff on how to write your own serialized fiction, if that's your kind of thing, how to do newsletters and build audiences that way. But mostly, it's me telling me my science fiction fantasy detective serial at the moment, which I've been serializing for 3 years. It's nearly finished.
Which is
Mike's been there the
truly
whole
a
time.
great piece of writing. It's very, very good. If you, you should.
For sure.
Thank you.
For sure.
So yeah, that's me. Still in Norwich, just like down the road from Josh. So we still
Awesome.
see each other
Thank you, sir.
occasionally.
Thank you, sir. Justin?
By day, I'm a web developer. Outside of that, I'm doing some occasional audiobook recording here and there. Not much in HitFilm, unfortunately, but I am starting to play around with DaVinci Resolve these days, and especially in Fusion. So exploring that, seeing what I can do with that thing.
Fantastic. Tony?
Well, I can't say too much, but I'm working in CAD and advertising, bit mix and match up too, but not much of HitFilm, sadly nowadays. But yeah, we'll jump into some things. But it's been a good time. I just wanted to quickly say as well, thank you to all of the moderators and everyone who's in the Discord. I really, really appreciate it. Without you guys, it wouldn't be the place it is today, keeping it alive. But the more people we can get in there, the more we can try and keep the community as blossoming and as alive as possible. But yeah, thank you. And thank you, Jay, for the stream today.
My pleasure.
Thank you everyone in here. And Simon as well. There you go.
And absolutely, thank you as well. All right, Javert?
Yeah, when I left FX Home in 2023, I switched industries into game development. So my first and only at the moment project was I was the lead lighting artist on Until Dawn, which came out last October. I'm between studios at the moment. I have something lined up starting in February or March. I'm not going to quite say what it is yet because even though I've signed the contract and everything, I haven't actually started. It is game development. I will be doing a lighting artist role on a game, so it's basically the same thing. But yeah, like I said, I'm between studios, got a couple months off, and then I'll start that very soon.
Wow, congratulations.
Very
Fantastic. Cool. All right, Tom.
Hi. So I am now working at Action VFX. Woohoo! Rody's in the chat. So yeah, I've joined them as of April, and yeah, so I'm now still doing tutorials, and I'm basically trying to, we're highlighting the amazing assets that we have in our library. Making cool content. I am now an absolute machine with so many tools at my disposal. But yeah, I'm also I'm working as their social media and community manager. So if you leave a comment on videos and stuff, 9 times out of 10 it will be me replying and getting involved. And we're taking a leaf out of the HitFilm book and setting up our own Discord and stuff as well. So yeah, really excited about that.
Fantastic. Congratulations on that. Action VFX, great company. Amazing assets that they create. Okay, and last but not least, Josh.
Too many things going on. Obviously, I have twins, so my life is trying to keep up with my wife and my twins, who she's so much better at this than me. The learning curve is steep. I am at Artlist, where I try and work and keep up with all of the software developers still who are making tools, mainly for the Adobe products at the moment. But they are making numerous tools, and they are as spectacular as ever as a team, and as together as ever as a team. They support each other. As I said earlier, as at FX Home, I used to work with amazing people every day, and I still am lucky enough to do that. I actually have a second company as well, the family company. My father is fairly old and unwell, and for 50 years he built a company that makes picture frames, but picture frames for galleries and museums and stuff like that around the world. So I am now involved in a very old school, very traditional, completely opposite end of the spectrum company. I will say I know about as much as that as I knew about FX Home when I started it. And I've moved house and renovating a house, and I started a YouTube channel. So I have a YouTube channel, which Tom is my amazing editor. Thank God, because my editing is poor. It's very poor. Javert has created the intro for the 2025 season, as it were. I made 7 episodes last year, and it is about how a man with no skill or knowledge of anything electrical is going to take a Porsche from 1989, one of the cheap ones with the flick-up lights, and convert it into an EV. Thus far, I've washed it. I've washed it. I cut a hole in the side. I welded something on, but actually, as Tom will tell you, it was someone else doing most of that because they wouldn't let me near the welder because they didn't trust me. And it has now developed into home improvements because I'm converting a garage so that I don't freeze to death while I do this. You can find it at I Am Joshua Davies because that's how original I am with my YouTube name. But yeah, it's randomly had more views than a lot of the tutorials did because I think there's just a market for men in their 40s to 50s being nostalgic about things they thought they were cool when they were like 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, who also have no idea. I mean, honestly, it's a fairly big just episode of how I'm an idiot and I talk to professionals to try and not burn myself or burn something down or whatever. So no, I am Joshua Davies. What? I am
Spartacus stuff. Here we go.
I am Joshua Davies. Yeah, like, everyone switch off your cameras and leave. No. So yeah, a lot of things, too much, and fraying at the edges generally.
Wow, that's great. Well, congratulations, and hope married and children life is treating you well, for sure.
Well, it's great. I had Javert over for Christmas, and he did a great job. I haven't seen Simon for a few months now, but me and Simon do try and catch up as often as we can. Kids makes that really hard, but yeah, we are just down the road from each other.
That's fantastic. Well, and I just want to say on behalf of everybody in the HitFilm community, thank you for everything that you did. And
honestly, this is the important part, what you guys are doing right now. Thank you guys for running events like this and for running the Discord. The community is, the business side of things, like we made software and we love making it, but the community is amazing and that you guys are keeping it moving. It's fantastic. And thank you so much for doing this and so much for just, being the heart of that community.
Well, and thanks to everybody out there who's watching. We really appreciate it. We'll look forward to seeing everybody on the Discord channel. Keep in touch. And with that, I'll say goodbye. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Jay.
Bye. Take care, everybody.
Everyone.
Be good.
Thanks, Jay.